Hi, it's jessicaamaladawn, and I am back with your weekly energy reading for the Divine Masculine Energies for October 25th to October 31st. And it's been an interesting week. I feel like this is going to be a little bit different this week. I feel different. I did my hair a little different. I feel lighter. I feel like a lot of that divine, all of that like confusion that was kind of blanketing over some of the blossoming of the divine masculine energies last week that came out in the reading, especially in terms of like just like kind of like clearing that haze, that mental fog of like not knowing and not being sure that leads to a lot of anxiety that's like really kind of coming up to go in order to allow for a lot more clarity about having that sort of divine masculine direction to move forward with new things from a new place that's actionable, but not really tied to like the expectations of the old paradigm that involve, competition or, survival-based drive, more like from a place of mission and fulfilling dharma and wanting to serve others in a very kind of pure way that is, I got the itchy ears, that is really in alignment with what your soul is calling you to do at this time. So, we're just going to kind of like get into it. There's been a lot of interesting messages that have come up this week around the masculine energy in general. A lot of masculines, I think, kind of feeling that have been in soul connections for a while, kind of having thoughts about that. Like, I think like that confusion about and that haziness about, regrets about the past, or not sure if they maybe made the right decisions in the past, or not really sure, what the right decision now in terms of moving forward is, I think, like a big theme that's kind of getting worked through. And, it's going to be different in every circumstance and every scenario. But let's just... the first card that wanted to fall out here is Storm Warning in reverse. So, it's really interesting because it's come up with other cards that there was this like impending crisis, this impending like Uranian lightning bolt disaster. We've got actually coming up with the astrology, there's what they would call in 3D an opposition between Uranus at 4 degrees Taurus with the new moon in Scorpio at 4 degrees. So I believe. So in 5D astrology, we call that a bridge, right? So by getting to that higher perspective, by seeing things from the observer's perch, we can take like two energies that could be very difficult on each other, like a very strong, like damaging lightning bolt that causes like accidents and disruptions and a very kind of overly electrifying energy that creates a lot of chaos. And sort of like, instead of like having those lightning bolts coming down and creating a lot of over disturbance, it's gonna like carry people like over the dark clouds and being able to kind of find a stability in a higher ground. And I actually went on a nature walk today and I saw a black hawk when I arrived. And I think that that's very symbolic of that, by obtaining that observer's higher perch perspective on everything that transpires in the next week or two, I would say the next 2 weeks, it's going to be that's going to, I think, be the number one factor to ride the storm. But by this being the very first card out in reverse, it's a really positive sign that if you're watching this, that you like are in the right place and frame to ride this well and be able to navigate it smoothly. So, but just, like in general, there's been a lot of messages to, in general, beware, be careful if you're driving, be careful if you're crossing the street, like just be aware of that sort of like accident energy, beware of the weather. But knowing that like really ultimately, like what's really required right now to avoid these big life catastrophes is to meditate, is to go inside, is to see everything that's happening in your life from the highest perspective and how it's serving you. And that's going to make all the difference. So super important energy for the masculine. And I love that that's also the 10 coming again back to that 10-10 gateway, which was so significant for the masculine energy and its rebirth. And I feel like what I'm also sensing is that maybe some chaos that came about from that rebirth is kind of passing as well. So I think there's like both kind of energies going on here. So something maybe about that process was vital to laying an important foundation to avoid like a much bigger impending crisis that could have come up at this new moon. So let's get another opening card for the overall energies for the masculine for the week from the Energy Oracle. Oh, that's amazing. Door to Spirit upright, number 32, and that adds up to a 5, so change. And it's actually been a while since this card has come out upright. So it's been coming out a lot in reverse. So some blockages that have been there in terms of the masculine accessing the spirit that came out. This energy actually came out last week in the reading as well. This opening to the higher vibrations and to spirit for the masculine energy. And so I think that having some of that fog being cleared away and this confusion cleared away is really opening the door even more for that energy to come through this week. And that's going to, be an energy that's going to create a lot of significant change and movement in a new direction. And, really opening up to cosmic consciousness and to all these like energies coming from the fifth dimension and above that really give a very different perspective. Like I said, really help to give that observer's perch that's going to help to ride whatever storm is passing in whatever way that shows up in your life. So I think that's like amazingly positive out the gate for the masculine. Just to kind of add some like more high vibes to that, to give a little bit of focus, I'm going to pull a Lemurian Starseed Oracle card to give, a little bit more rounded flavor about really the best way to kind of focus on that observer's perch this week in order to kind of find the best place for yourself possible in these energies. So what's the best perspective for the week? I guess this one. Purity. I love it. And I was actually there's a unicorn on the wall, a blow up unicorn balloon that is my daughter's. And I was like staring at it and I knew it was significant. And then we've got this beautiful unicorn coming out that's very similar. That's got this sort of pinkish hue to the hair and it's white, just like the other one I have. And it says, "You are pure, open, spiritual eyes." And that unicorn on my wall is actually pointing up at a home with big raindrops over it and a very big dark cloud over it. So what I'm sensing is that something about this is like there's some sort of very sort of heavy, distorted, confused, like I said, that whole 7 of Cups clouded, confused energy and that moon energy that was coming out last week, that was creating all that confusion was centered around the home for the masculine. And but really what's kind of like coming up and uprooting that energy and transforming it is this purity. And that's what's really that's really what's transforming things and opening this gate, this door to spirit. So, yeah, and I know for myself as well, like I've been doing I had some clearing around like where, my human unicorn horn would be, because we have a rod of energy, like we have a unicorn horn rod type of energy as well as other rods of energy in our makeup. And I think it was just like some sort of like clearing there that wanted to happen. And I've been doing some activations on myself to kind of work on that, and like with some light language that was coming through, and like specifically working on opening that channel. So again, like when I say, masculine, divine masculine, like it's not this is an energy that I'm working through as well, quite significantly at this time. And so definitely purifying this channel is really, really important to do. And spirit may have ways to guide you through that. But if you're feeling stuck and unsure, you can always reach out and ask, and I can provide you with additional assistance with how to do that. And I think what that's really going to do is, just like get this greater understanding of just like how far you've come. Like really there's this very big moment of like arrival at this very healed, pure place that's coming into awareness at this time. And that's kind of like allowing for this connection to open up to higher communication that has been more blocked off up until this time with beings from other realms and from other planets. And so it's from that place of having gone through all of the cleansing and the purity and returning to that pristine state that allows for that to activate and to occur. So, and again, it just kind of reiterates this whole idea of like that it becomes, that unicorn horn is really that, it's like that antenna, if you will, for that door to spirit and to a lot of really exciting consciousness expanding communication. So really exciting stuff. Let's grab here a native spirit card, because I've been noticing when I've been doing these activations and healings that definitely some native spirit energies was coming through, some chief energies. So I feel like they're definitely playing a very significant role. And also there's, on these beautiful cards that by Denise Linn, we've also got a hawk. And like I said, I just saw a hawk today. So they're definitely calling and making themselves known at this time and providing, a lot of assistance with this process. So what's the advice for the week for the masculine from, and it fell right down. Okay. Just flew right out. We've got nature spirits. Beautiful. And I actually really love the fact that we've got on all these cards, and I think it's definitely significant. And it might be a little harder to see for where you are, but we've got these little orbs of light coming in to this picture. And then we've got orbs of light here as well coming through. And then again on the nature spirits card, you can see there's these tiny little orbs of light coming through everywhere. And I've been noticing more and more lately when I've seen pictures of people with old trees in the forest, these like amazing light orbs coming through. And I've seen in other people's pictures in general, just like a lot more light codes showing up in the lens flare. And some people will say, well, that's just, some people might say it's just an optical illusion or whatever, and it's not really real. But, from my experience and the way these things show up, and I've even seen it show up on pictures where like a lot of them where you really wouldn't expect it, like inside of a bar. Somebody sent me a picture of like a bar in England or Ireland, and it was just like, it was so many. But in that part of the world, you would see a lot of that when at certain times of year, because the veils get so thin there to the magical realms of spirit and to Albion. And so, that it's all leading to like this, important message that despite the fact that in a lot of places in the world, it's not spring, or summer, we're in fall, getting into a cooler time of year where I live, that despite that, the veils are still thin right now to open to all these different dimensions of spirit. There's a lot of different light codes coming through, and specifically light codes that are, connected to the elemental beings. And I would dare say, this deck doesn't specifically talk about fairies, but I would very much include the fairy realm in that. And they've certainly been speaking to me more lately. And I think that's really important. And I actually have this fairy garden that my daughter pulled out that was from her toy chest that she suddenly wanted to work on. Again, another little sign from the fairies, amongst many, of like the fact that they are making their presence more known right now to assist with connecting to these higher realms, because they actually work together with beings from places like Andromeda basically through us as the intermediary. So we become like this communication gateway between the fairy realms and star beings in order to like get new information that will be helpful for the planet in terms of like how to take better care of Mother Gaia, how to live more peacefully on her, how to new technologies, or just like where to build things, where not to build things, etc., etc. And also just things about like what their needs are, or what, or just being friendly with these other realms, and that, creating a more playful experience of life on Earth that's very dynamic up to what's above and below. So I think it's just like, this is all like very, very exciting stuff, and it's all coming about from this birthing of purity and moving past this difficult period, or smoothly riding it. And certainly like by being very connected inwardly and really like picking up all of these light codes, whether it's like through meditation or through going into nature, or doing clearings, at home or with the help of an energy healer, all of that's going to really, really help to like ride all of this, because you're going to be in, so supported by these other places. So man, we're just like getting so much good stuff so fast into the video. I think I'm being called to like ask what's in the heart space of the masculine energy this week. So we're going to pull some Rider-Waite Tarot. Okay, what do we need to know about what's in the heart space of the masculine this week? Okay, and what else do we need to know about what's in the heart space of the masculine this week? What else do we need to know? Okay. Okay. So what we got here is the Five of Wands with the High Priestess in reverse. So really there's like, my sense with this off the bat is that there is, I think, a desire to connect to a feminine energy that is very much the High Priestess person, or really like whether that's their job or if they just strongly carry that energy. I think there's a strong desire to connect, but at the same time, whether it's because they're battling with other people or battling or worried that they're going to be battling with this person to communicate, there's some sort of a holdback, I think, for doing that. And I'm going to pull some more cards to get more information here, but I just feel like there's just the heart space is just like feeling like, oh, like all of this angst and fighting is like this big block to really connecting in with like with that more divine feminine energy. And it's almost like it doesn't even necessarily have to be that masculine wanting to necessarily connect with that in another person. It could also be, you know, like seen so many different ways. It could be a man wanting to connect to the high priestess energy, divine feminine energy in themselves, but feeling like there's way too much, you know, conflict to do that. And again, like with seeing this like picture of the cloud with this huge dark cloud with the huge raindrops over this house, it could be that there's like a lot of fighting with family members, with coworkers, but particularly with family, that could be preventing this sort of engagement from going on. And again, like it just brings me back to this whole storm warning in reverse. Like I feel like this is all workable. This might be like, you know, what's still kind of creating some blocks, because this is what's in the heart space now. But there's all these opportunities to open and expand in ways that are going to be really supportive of shifting that energy. And yeah, we had underside of the deck, we had the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So again, I think that there's like the end of like a waiting period to kind of move forward with this and like kind of get out of these dark clouds. Like I said, like this energy is, it's a 10, it's ending, it's moving past, it's finishing up. But I think that there's just like the residues of all those battles are still in the heart space of the masculine energy. And like, you know, and even, you know, for the a woman who's, you know, maybe still kind of got little bits of residues of, you know, upset over things from the past that require forgiveness in order to fully, like, again, come into that purity, because there's a strong connection, of course, between the high priestess there connecting to the higher realms with this unicorn, and that beautiful moon orb on her head is doing the same role as the unicorn horn. So it's all connected. So what else do we need to know? I want to pull some fairy cards. So we're going to pull here for what's going on in the headspace of the masculine, divine masculine energy this week first. Okay. And for this, I might take a quick look at the book. What's going on in the headspace? Okay, actually, I know this one pretty good. So this is super interesting. So first of all, it's number 39. So yeah, so that actually ends up being a 12, which in and of itself is kind of like a master number. But it's also, because, you know, there's 12 signs on the clock. There's, it's like 12 Knights of the Round Table. It's a very significant number of some sort of a whole, coming to a wholeness with something. But it also works down to the 3. So I think that there's something about like starting, you know, 2 energies coming together to create something new that's also worth taking a closer think about and feel about. But really, our beautiful lost Guna, what she really is all about is like getting into the sticky spaces, like getting into the muck. You know, it's almost like, okay, there was this big dark cloud with, you know, all this like gucky rain that's now come down, right? That was creating all of this is all this battle that created all this muck. But like there's something about like then like kind of looking in at that like inner muck that sort of like caused this mirror to kind of come about in the first place, and really working on clearing it out in a way that's like, I don't want to say necessarily excited about it, but just like feeling like very capable of working through it and knowing that this is not this isn't a storm that's going to like create a catastrophe that you're working through. It's a puddle. It's kind of a muddy puddle that has room to, that's kind of inviting you with this energy to have the right frame of mind and the right tools with her by your side to explore it and navigate through it. Because in that, you know, beautiful irony in a way, like that muck puddle is that path, is actually that path to your purity. It's not that clear, pristine, you know, crystalline water lake that's going to get you there. It's actually kind of going, you know, physically and metaphorically into the mud. So yeah, masculine. It's a pretty awesome message. So, you know, don't hold back. I just hear that, like, don't hold back, like dive in, like get your feet wet, like get your fingers dirty. These are all the messages I'm hearing, you know? And even like if you have a garden or something that like will actually encourage you to like get out into the mud, that I think that actually could be very significant and helpful to kind of work through this stuff, especially in terms of like connecting with these nature spirits. So I love it. So what else have we got? Let's pull, these are cards for the Avalonian cycle of healing. These are super, you know, typically these cards are more for like feminine energy, like the feminine empowerment energy. But I think we're coming into like a really different time of awakening. And, okay. These are falling everywhere. Sorry about that. Yeah. And I just feel like they're like, I feel like these energies are really relevant for everybody right now. So the first card we've got is Reaching the Shore, which makes perfect sense because like I said, you know, we're at the we're at the end of being on this stormy sea, right? And we're reaching the shore, which is that doorway to spirit. And, you know, everything that was kind of like winter or is now kind of coming back to life, right? Things are going to start to blossom. The fruits of all of this hard work, all of this healing, all this clearing, you know, this storm in some respects is not just a storm that's been going on for a week or a month. You know, this is very reflective of storms from all of the changes and upheavals that have happened over the course of the awakening of the divine masculine that is kind of coming to a point of close. And that's, you know, because I've been getting channels around this recently as well. And it's really like leading to a point of creating these first fruits and these positive gifts of, you know, having cleansed and healed all of this karma and having brought it all to a place of purity. And, you know, in addition to that, we also got the 3 cauldrons. And again, this card is all about turning these 3 cauldrons, one in the pineal gland, one in the heart, and one in the womb, around in order to channel the divine light, to channel, you know, psychic guidance, to channel sovereignty, all from spirit, right? So again, we've got the same energy going on here. Like the door to spirit is open and all of these cups can be filled. And, you know, you could say that this is like, you know, even the masculine has a womb space. It's just more energetic, but you could just say that that's the sacral chakra or the hara. And so, you know, it's just so clear. It's a very, very clear message about what is available. And, you know, all this work is like activating this insight, this pineal gland, in order to like really open up this cup and allow this to come through. So can be a very, very exciting week. And I feel like this is really the key, because all of this higher perspective that's coming through, like the hawk that I saw on my trip, is the essential factor for that first most important card of the reading, which is, you know, overcoming the storm, moving past the storm, and riding the storm instead of getting caught up in it. And I keep reiterating that because, you know, without getting too heavy into the astrology, you know, a lot of people are predicting that it could be a very, very volatile time that incites things like, you know, war and like big fighting, and supposedly, you know, terrible time to get into a relationship, etc., etc. But sometimes when it's bad to like be really, really active out there in the physical world, that's actually, especially when you've got like Uranus kind of opposing a new moon, that's like basically a huge invitation to awaken. It's actually a gift. So it's really all about perspective and about how you choose to use the energy. And, you know, it's not meant to be another obstacle. It's meant to be exactly the energy that's needed to fully arrive at your destination. So I think this is like absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to pull a Keeper of the Light from Kyle Gray to kind of confirm all of these energies and see who's overseeing the, you know, this week to provide that additional sense of support and guidance. You can call upon them in addition to whoever else you feel intuitively guided to. Yeah, this keeps coming up. Jesus, Master Jesus, forgiveness. And it says, you are on the path of light, love, and forgiveness. Father, healing is possible at this time. So again, I think a lot of this comes down to, oh, maybe I dropped it now. But anyway, this has a lot to do with this, that Five of Wands card, all of that fighting, you know, disagreements with people in the past, whether that was like strong disagreements about a life path or choices from a divine masculine with their father, or with just like with other people in their life. Could it be, you know, a partner or friends or a wife, like any of those things. And like all of that has left like some bruises and some scars. But at this point, what it's saying is that really the key to, I think, unlocking and moving past all of this is, or even, sorry, I want to add, like, even just like, you know, with a divine counterpart, with a divine feminine counterpart, and maybe having some things where they're having trouble forgiving around that as well. And so really what this is saying is like all of these things really in forgiveness, when we can find that place of forgiveness, is, I feel, is like that sort of softening agent. It's that healing, soothing balm that, and certainly, you know, the energy of Jesus is profoundly, profoundly healing, and words can't really describe it. And by allowing yourself to receive his healing and his elixir of love and forgiveness, it allows all of these other beautiful things to unfold beyond the storm. And so, you know, it's a choice, right? It's a choice. You can fight. You can choose to play into the energies that are encouraging your ego to fight, or you can actually do the opposite and have profound miracles and profound breakthroughs at this time. I truly believe that. So what else wants to come through? I'm getting here called to pull another Lemurian card. What's this all about? I just hear it's like a message for the masculine energy of love and support, to sort of a system to navigate the energies this week. Oh, beautiful. Light language. Universal language of oneness, of love. Listen with your heart. So yeah, I'm glad that came up because, and then on the underside of the deck, we've got Indigo Child. And so, you know, I had mentioned earlier in the reading about light language and about how, you know, lately I actually haven't been speaking as much light language, but it was coming through again today, more significantly as I was doing some of this clearing work. And I think this is just reiterating the message that allowing this to come through you, masculine, will allow more profound healing to work through some of these energies of forgiveness. Because forgiveness is as much an energetic process as it is a conscious one, or as it is anything else. And these codes that come through when we allow ourselves to just speak the words of the divine that want to come through us in meditation and communion with God and with spirit, they are sounds and frequencies and vibrations that heal us very directly. They work directly on our DNA in very specific ways to create profound healing and to help with this, you know, this blossoming of the heart, right? And creating these opportunities for then, you know, through that profound blossoming of the heart, really opening that gateway from the heart to that higher self and beyond. So, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, a lot of people don't really fully talk about light language because I think that maybe there's a lot of maybe confusion around it, or it just maybe seems kind of like airy-fairy or a little too woo-woo. Or maybe some people just haven't, like maybe the masculine energy in general hasn't been having the same level of access as the divine feminine energy does up until this point to these codes, we'll just say, and frequencies and tones of light that want to come through in a form of language. But it sounds like, and it seems like, it feels like this is changing this week. And I think that's really, really exciting because I hear like the blossoming of this dialogue is going to bear beautiful fruit. And you can even see here, they've got this like sort of spiral, this like DNA kind of spiral. And it's writing all of these codes of transformation. And it says, you know, also universal language of oneness. And I think that, you know, again, when we're in these energies that are so polarizing, like the ones we're moving into, something like light language, which is so universal, is a very beautiful, powerful antidote to that in order to pull everything together and create those gateways. So I am going to leave it at that. I think this was a beautiful reading. I loved it. I hope that you got something out of it. If you have any questions, you can please reach out. And please, if you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. And I'm sending you lots of love. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.